There's a myth floating around that attraction is all about looks, charm, or the perfect text reply, but let's get real. The women who consistently attract the best men, men of integrity, depth, and vision, don't rely on luck. They live with intention. They choose habits that elevate not just their love lives, but their entire lives. These women begin with self-respect, not just self-love. Self-love says, I deserve good things. Self-respect says, I will not settle for anything less. And there's a difference. They don't just recite affirmations or treat themselves to spa days. They make tough choices. They walk away from disrespect. They don't respond to a text at 2 a.m. from someone who only shows up when it's convenient. Why? Because their time, energy, and heart are not available for anyone who doesn't show up with full intention. They don't need someone to validate their worth because their life already reflects it. The best men feel that. And they don't take it lightly. These women don't chase, they inspire. There's something magnetic about a woman who's not performing, not pleasing, not pretending, just being. She's fully immersed in her life. She follows her purpose. She builds her dreams. She doesn't wait around for someone to choose her. She's too busy choosing herself every day. She understands you don't attract the best by needing more. You attract them by being more. The best men aren't looking for someone who orbits around them. They're drawn to someone who already revolves around something meaningful. We hear about self-love all the time. Love yourself, accept yourself, be kind to yourself, and all of that matters deeply. But there's something even more foundational than self-love. Something that defines the quality of your relationships, the way people treat you, and the life you allow yourself to live. That something is self-respect. Self-love can make you feel good in the moment. It's the bubble bath, the affirmations, the treat yourself energy. But self-respect is deeper. It's what shows up when no one is watching. It's the voice inside that says, I deserve better, even when your heart wants to settle. It's the quiet strength to walk away from a situation that looks good, but doesn't feel right. Self-respect is the boundary you hold, even when you're afraid you might lose someone because of it. The truth is, self-love without self-respect is incomplete. You can love yourself and still let people walk all over you if you don't respect yourself. You can think you deserve the world and still say yes to crumbs if you haven't drawn the line between what feels good temporarily and what honors you long-term. Self-respect is what anchors your standards. It's not about being rigid or closed off. It's about knowing what your soul is worth and refusing to let anyone discount it. A woman who respects herself doesn't need to prove her value. She simply lives in a way that reflects it. You can see it in her decisions, in her relationships, in her silence. She doesn't have to scream to be heard. She doesn't have to demand loyalty. She creates a space where only the loyal stay. Her energy says, this is how I move. If you're not aligned with that, keep walking. And it's not easy. Sometimes self-respect means making the harder choice. It means sitting alone on a Friday night because you'd rather have peace than settle for company that drains you. It means ending a relationship where you're not being valued, even if you still care deeply. It means saying no when you want to say yes, because deep down you know that saying yes would mean betraying yourself. And sometimes it means facing the fear of being misunderstood, judged, or even abandoned because you've finally chosen to stand by yourself. But here's the powerful part. When you move with self-respect, your entire life shifts. You stop attracting people who test your worth. You stop entertaining situations that drain your spirit. You begin to build a world that matches the standard you've set internally. People treat you the way you treat yourself. If you handle your heart with care, so will they. If you take your time seriously, so will they. If you speak your truth clearly, those who stay will meet you there. You start to realize that walking away isn't a loss, it's a declaration. A declaration that says, I am no longer available for anything that doesn't honor the woman that works so hard to become. And the right people, the best men, they won't be threatened by your self-respect. They'll be drawn to it. Because deep down, they're not looking for someone who will shrink to fit into their world. They're looking for someone who will inspire them to grow. Someone whose presence demands their best without ever having to ask for it. So don't just love yourself on the surface. Respect yourself at your core. That's the beginning of everything. That's where your power lives. And from that place, you won't just attract love, you'll attract alignment, purpose, and peace. Because when you carry yourself like someone who knows exactly what she's worth, you'll never have to convince anyone to treat you that way. There's a quiet power in a woman who doesn't chase. And it's not because she's playing hard to get or following some rule book. It's because she understands her energy is sacred. She's not in the business of convincing anyone of her value. She knows that when something is aligned, it doesn't need to be forced. The right people recognize her presence without needing to be persuaded. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't audition for love. She simply is, and that is enough. A woman who doesn't chase has made peace with herself. She's not filling empty space with empty people. She doesn't need constant validation to feel worthy. Why? Because she's already living in her worth. Her life is full, not necessarily with people, but with purpose. She doesn't wait for someone to give her permission to live fully. She's already doing it. She's building, creating, exploring, and growing. Her days aren't centered around when someone will text back. Her focus is on becoming the kind of person who makes herself proud. This kind of woman is magnetic, not because she's loud or flashy, but because she's grounded. She knows what she brings to the table, so she's not afraid to eat alone. She doesn't chase, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares deeply, starting with herself. She refuses to shrink to be more digestible. She doesn't adjust her worth based on someone else's attention. Instead of molding herself to fit someone else's story, she's writing her own. And when you meet her, you feel it. Her energy is calm, not desperate. Her conversation is intentional, not performative. She asks questions not to impress, but to connect. She listens not to reply, but to understand. She doesn't compete with other women because she's too focused on collaboration, not comparison. Her confidence doesn't scream, it simply exists. What's powerful about this woman is that she doesn't chase love, she inspires it. She inspires better communication. She inspires higher standards. She inspires growth, not because she demands it, but because she lives it. The right man sees her not as a challenge, but as a mirror. Her presence shows him what's possible, not what's required. She doesn't try to fix anyone, save anyone, or carry someone's potential on her back. She lets her life speak for itself. She believes in alignment over effort. She knows that love isn't about winning someone, it's about walking with someone who's already moving in the same direction. Sometimes people confuse not chasing with being cold. But there's nothing cold about a woman who's chosen peace over pressure. She has boundaries, not walls. She's open, not desperate. She'll give deeply, but only where there's mutual respect. She'll show up fully, but only where she's seen. She knows the difference between effort and chasing. Effort is mutual, chasing is one-sided. And she's not available for lopsided love. This kind of woman doesn't come from a place of arrogance. She comes from a place of clarity. She knows who she is. She knows what she values, and she knows that the right connection doesn't require her to abandon herself. She's not looking to complete anyone. She's looking to connect with someone equally whole. She doesn't rush timing. She trusts it because she knows what's meant for her will not require her to chase it down. It will recognize her when it arrives. So she waits, not in stillness, but in strength. Not in emptiness, but in empowerment. She's not looking behind her. She's not begging love to notice her. She's looking ahead, eyes forward, heart open. Because she doesn't chase, she inspires. There's something deeply powerful about a woman who chooses growth over games. She's not interested in proving she's the one who cares less. She's not trying to win by being colder, or quicker, or more clever. She's done playing emotional chess matches. She's done acting like she doesn't feel. She's not here for the drama. She's here to evolve. This kind of woman has traded in the highs and lows of inconsistency for the steady climb of becoming. She doesn't waste energy trying to control outcomes. Instead, she invests that energy into understanding herself, how she loves, how she reacts, how she heals. She knows love is not a power struggle, it's a partnership. And if she's not growing inside it, she's not staying in it. She's not sending texts just to see how fast someone replies. She's not withholding affection to test if someone will chase. That's not love. That's ego in disguise. And she's not playing anymore. She's not impressed by attention without intention. She's not moved by effort that's inconsistent. Her time is too valuable. Her heart is too honest. Her vision is too clear. She values truth even when it's uncomfortable. She'll have the hard conversations. She'll face the things most people run from because she knows real intimacy is born from growth, not from pretending everything is perfect. She's not afraid of being wrong. She's afraid of staying the same. She's willing to be called out, to be challenged, to be held accountable, not because she's weak, but because she's wise enough to know that growth requires humility. This woman is focused on breaking patterns, not repeating them. She doesn't need someone to complete her. She wants someone to grow with her. Someone who's not intimidated by her strength. Someone who doesn't mistake her emotional maturity for being too much. She wants a relationship where both people are committed to healing, not hiding. To becoming better, not bitter, to building something real, not replaying old stories. She values the kind of love that asks both people to rise, that calls out the best in each other, that creates space for softness and accountability at the same time. She knows that growth doesn't always feel good, but it always moves you forward. And she refuses to stay in situations that keep her emotionally stagnant just because they're familiar. Comfort no longer convinces her, evolution does. And here's the truth, this way of living makes her unforgettable. Because she's not offering temporary excitement, she's offering long-term expansion. She doesn't want to outsmart anyone. She wants to outgrow the old version of herself. And when the right man comes along, he sees it, he feels it, because the best men don't want to play games either. They want to build, to heal, to grow. She's not impressed by who shows up with flowers. She's impressed by who shows up with emotional intelligence, with self-awareness, with a willingness to look in the mirror. The man who values growth over ego, that's the man she's making room for. She doesn't want to keep score. She wants to keep evolving. She doesn't want to one-up. She wants to uplift, because in her world, love is not about who's ahead. It's about whether you're both moving forward together. She's not here to entertain temporary connections. She's here to elevate every space she steps into. And that's why she no longer entertains games. She's grown beyond them. So she walks in truth. She speaks with depth. She loves with intention. And because of that, she no longer chases love that confuses her. She attracts love that grows with her. There's something magnetic about a woman who doesn't just follow her passion, but lives with purpose. She's not just chasing feelings. She's building something that matters. Her life isn't dictated by what's exciting in the moment. It's guided by what's meaningful in the long run. Passion may light the fire, but purpose keeps it burning. And that difference changes everything about the way she moves, the way she loves, and the way she shows up in the world. Passion is emotional. It's intense, inspiring, sometimes overwhelming. But passion without purpose can be chaotic. It can pull you in 100 directions, chasing high after high, searching for the next spark to keep you going. But when you live with purpose, you don't burn out. You're anchored, you're focused, you're not just reacting to life. You're creating it with intention. This kind of woman doesn't just talk about her dreams, she aligns her actions with them. She doesn't just get excited by ideas, she puts them into motion. She knows that her life is bigger than a moment, bigger than a relationship, bigger than fleeting inspiration. She's not waiting to be saved or discovered, she's building herself brick by brick. And when you see her, you feel that grounded energy. It's not loud, it's not showy. It's steady, powerful, and clear. She brings that same sense of purpose into her relationships. She's not here to play roles or fit molds. She's not looking for a love that just feels good for now. She's looking for alignment, for partnership, for someone who sees the road she's on and wants to walk it with her, not distract her from it. She doesn't settle for someone who only matches her passion. She's drawn to someone who matches her purpose. She knows what she's here to do. And that doesn't mean she has all the answers. It doesn't mean she's figured out every step, but it means she's committed to the journey. She knows that purpose isn't a destination, it's a direction. It's the why behind everything she says yes to. And that kind of clarity is rare, it's attractive. It draws in the people who are ready, not just the ones who are interested. And because she lives with purpose, she's not easily swayed by distractions. She doesn't entertain people who waste her time. She doesn't get caught up in drama or trends. She's not chasing validation, she's building value. Her confidence doesn't come from attention, it comes from alignment. She's not measuring her worth by how much noise she makes, but by how deeply she lives in her truth. She understands that passion fades and feelings shift, so she builds something stronger than emotion. She builds character, she cultivates discipline, she develops resilience. Because she knows there will be days when motivation is low, when things don't go as planned, when love feels hard. And on those days, purpose is what pulls her forward. Not hype, not applause, not adrenaline, but the deep, quiet knowing that she's living in integrity with herself. The right man sees that. He sees the difference between someone who's just excited about life and someone who's committed to living it well. He's not intimidated by her fire. He's inspired by her focus. Because real men don't want someone who burns fast and fades. They want someone who burns steady. Someone whose presence makes them want to become more, because she's already becoming more herself. So no, she doesn't live for the spotlight, she lives for the impact. She doesn't chase moments, she builds momentum, because passion may open the door, but purpose is what keeps her walking through it, day after day, with heart, with vision, and with strength. There's a powerful difference between setting standards and setting traps. One comes from confidence, the other comes from fear. And the women who consistently attract the best kind of love, the kind that's rooted in respect, growth, and truth, don't play games to test someone's loyalty. They lead with clarity. They don't manipulate. They communicate. They set the tone, not to control others, but to protect their peace. These women don't sit back and think, let's see how much I can push before he snaps, or if he really cares, he'll figure it out. No. They say what they mean what they say, and they create space for real connection, not confusion. They know that mind games don't lead to emotional intimacy. They lead to emotional exhaustion. And they're not interested in dragging someone into commitment through guesswork. They want someone who's fully present, not someone who passes a test by accident. Setting standards doesn't mean being harsh or unapproachable. It means being rooted in your values. It means knowing what kind of energy you're willing to welcome and what kind you simply can't afford to entertain anymore. It's not about being too much. It's about being enough. For yourself first, so that you stop begging for crumbs when you deserve consistency. These women don't raise the standards to scare people off. They raise them to reveal who's willing to rise. And here's the key. They're not doing it for attention. They're doing it out of alignment. They don't need someone to jump through hoops to prove they care. They're not looking for perfect, but they are looking for effort, for honesty, for presence. They're looking for a connection that honors both people, not one that leaves them second-guessing their worth. What separates them is how they react when someone doesn't meet their standard. They don't panic. They don't chase. They don't try to fix or force. They simply step back, wish them well, and keep walking. They don't hold grudges, but they don't hold doors open for people who can't walk through them with intention either. That's not cold. That's clarity. That's peace. They understand that standards aren't ultimate. They're boundaries with direction. They tell the world, this is how I live, this is how I love, this is how I expect to be treated. And anyone who enters their life is choosing whether or not to meet that energy. There's no pressure, but there is purpose. And that's what makes them magnetic. The best men, men who are ready, men who are steady, men who are grounded, are not turned off by standards. They're drawn to them. Because real men don't want to guess what you want. They want to know. They want to trust the space they're stepping into. And when a woman shows up with standards, she's not creating tension. She's creating safety. She's creating a container where both people can be honest, open, and whole. This kind of woman is clear about what she'll accept, but even clearer about what she won't. She's done explaining the bare minimum. She's done pretending to be okay with half effort. She's not angry. She's evolved. She's not bitter. She's better. Better at protecting her peace, better at spotting red flags, better at knowing the difference between someone who's serious and someone who's just passing time. So no, she doesn't set traps. She doesn't bait love. She doesn't confuse drama with passion. She sets standards. And then she watches who chooses to meet her there, not because they're afraid to lose her, but because they value being close to a woman who values herself. There's a quiet confidence in a woman who communicates not to control, but to connect. She's not trying to win a conversation. She's not using her words to manipulate an outcome. She speaks because she wants to be understood, not obeyed. She shares because she values clarity, not control. And in a world where miscommunication ruins more relationships than dishonesty ever will, her way of showing up is rare and powerful. This woman doesn't play guessing games. She doesn't leave vague messages hoping someone will read between the lines. She says what she feels, what she needs, what she dreams about, not with demands, but with dignity. Because for her, communication is not about domination. It's about building something real. It's about opening a door, not trapping someone behind it. She doesn't speak to provoke reactions. She speaks to spark understanding. If something bothers her, she brings it to the table not as an accusation, but as an invitation to grow. She's not afraid to be vulnerable. She doesn't see emotions as a weakness. She knows her strength lies in her ability to feel deeply and express those feelings without shame. She's honest, not harsh. She's direct, not destructive. And because she leads with emotional maturity, the people around her feel safe to do the same. She doesn't try to control people's actions through silence or sarcasm. She knows that withholding love, attention, or affection to manipulate behavior is not power, it's fear in disguise. She doesn't resort to coldness to punish someone into doing better. She uses her words not as weapons, but as bridges. She understands that real connection isn't built through pressure, but through presence. And when conflict arises, she doesn't run from it, she leans in, not to argue, but to understand, not to prove a point, but to find peace. She knows that disagreement doesn't have to mean disconnection, that two people can see things differently and still respect each other if the space between them is filled with honest, respectful communication. She listens just as much as she speaks, because she's not just waiting for her turn to talk. She's genuinely curious about what someone else feels, believes, and needs. She asks questions not to find leverage, but to find truth. She's not in a relationship to be right. She's in it to be real. And realness requires listening, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. She doesn't need control to feel secure. She needs alignment. And that only happens when two people are brave enough to communicate openly. She doesn't want to script someone's behavior. She wants to co-author a connection where both people are fully seen and fully heard. She doesn't raise her voice to dominate. She raises her standard of communication to elevate the relationship. And here's the thing, the right men are drawn to this. The best men don't want to be controlled. They want to be understood. They want space to be honest, to show up fully, to grow without being micromanaged. And when they meet a woman who communicates from love, not fear, they recognize the difference. It's refreshing, it's grounding, it's rare. This woman doesn't just talk, she communicates with intention, with heart, with integrity. And because of that, the connections she builds aren't just based on attraction or convenience. They're based on mutual trust, respect, and emotional freedom. So no, she doesn't raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't use silence to punish. She doesn't manipulate to keep someone close. She speaks to connect. And that changes everything.